And then you need to use the drop down there and make sure that it's cooking. Yes.
Okay, we're live. Dave, you got a big long one for us? No. Call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock.
Just to be clear, the organizational
Meeting at 6 o'clock. Adoption of the agenda as presented. Councilor Olson. All in favor? Carried. Regular council meeting dates and times. It's fairly straightforward. Would you like me to read them? Please say no.
So just we've stuck with the same second Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. So
Motion that council approve regular meeting of council to be held on the following dates at 6 p.m. in the town council chambers unless an alternate location or electronic method of meeting is agreed to by council and advertised to the public. Motion. Council Murphy. All in favor? Carried. Signing authorities.
oh, one more.
Sorry. Information session. Same thing. It's
Last Wednesday of
last
the month
Wednesday of the month
8:30.
at 8:30 in the morning. Motion, Councilor Kroll. All in favor? Carried. Signing authorities.
It's just there for information.
Yep. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none. Deputy mayor appointments. Council procedure bylaw 10/15/2021 provides councilors an average to serve 8 months as deputy mayor for the term for the town of Hanna. Councilor Bowden served the first term and Councilor Olson served second term. The members of council has be appointed as deputy mayor all the terms. Councilor Kroll, March 1st, 2023 to October 31st. Coming up on your term, eh, Brett? Councilor Murphy, November 1st to June 30th. Councilor Warwick, July 1st, February 28th. And Councilor Farrell, March 1st to October 31st, 2025. Motion. Councilor Kroll. All in favor? Carried. Committee appointments. Standing top with what we had. Personnel committee is myself, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Olson. Emergency advisory committee is myself, Councilor Bowden, Councilor Warwick. Finance and audit committee is myself, Councilor Thurl, and Councilor Kroll. Motion. Councilor Olson. All in favor? Carried. Committee. Council representative appointments. I am not going to read through these all. We haven't changed any. Motion. Councilor Thurl. All in favor? Just vote, Councilor Bowden.
Yeah, I do have a concern. And as I recall, I was voted in and was in second based on and I'm actually quite disappointed and disheartened to see that I have one active committee. And everybody else has 3 active, except for Councillor Thoreau. And there's 6 alternatives with Councillor Thoreau having 3 of them. And I'm just wondering why the alternates are not distributed throughout. And yeah, I'm just very disappointed that I thought I had something to offer. And obviously based on what is in front of us and what we have discussed in last half term, that I was interested in more committees. And I'm not going to sit and beg to be on a committee. And I think it is very unevenly set out. My understanding was that the committees were being assigned to a committee would give everybody an opportunity to learn more about those committees and be able to provide input as a counselor better than people having the same things over and over again. So I'm just very disappointed and I'm not voting in favor.
Would you like my chamber post?
Yeah, and a half hour at lunchtime or whatever. I'm just not, yeah, I'm just not impressed.
I'm asking, would you like my chamber post?
For 1 hour, when is that, like once a quarter or?
It's monthly.
Well, I guess it's unfair for me to expect somebody to give it up as well. Like,
No,
I guess, did you talk to the chamber? Would they be interested in somebody else taking
Yeah.
your spot?
I can still be on the committees at the chamber, just I won't be a part of the board.
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay. So one amendment, Councilor Golden takes
Yeah.
on the chamber.
And as you can see, there are several that are out of town and are getting paid for mileage and times for attending meetings and that sort of thing. So I just think it's really unevenly distributed, with perhaps maybe a bias or 2.
It's quite an accusation. To say that there's bias is it's not very fair.
I guess that's my opinion, Sandra, and I guess you're entitled to yours as well.
Okay, so we need to have the motion with the amendment that Councilor Golden will take on the chamber. Councilor Thurl. All in favor? Carried. Municipal staff appointments. Council appoints David Mole as Development Officer, and Winona Gucci as Director of Corporate Services, as Assistant Development Officer for the town of Hanna for a 1-year term. Motion. Councilor Thurl. All in favor? Carried. Second, the council appoints David Mole as Director of Emergency Management for the town of Hanna for a term of 1 year. Motion. Councilor Olson. All in favor? Carried. Assessor appointment. Council appoints Mr. Terry Wilbury, Credit Municipal Assessor of Alberta, as Municipal Assessor for the town of Hanna from until October 2024. Organizational meeting in accordance with bylaw 1003/2019. The designated bylaw officer. That's designated bylaw officer bylaw. Sorry. motion, Council Olson, all in favor? Carried. Committee for board member appointments. That's approved. I'm not gonna read through those guys, y'all got them, right? Any questions or concerns with that? Seeing and hearing none, motion to accept. Councilor Murphy, sorry. All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. So we still will be doing some recruitment for library board as well as community services board, and we omitted MPC. We had one of our members at large whose term expired, so we're going to be advertising that appointment as well. The existing member wishes to remain on, but to be fair, we need to go through the process and advertise openings for that. So we will be promoting those three here shortly. For members to put their name forward if they're interested. So.
Okay. Moving along to, oh, we did that, these for the adjournment, eh?
Yeah, you get to adjourn that
Well,
one.
I get to adjourn that one. My computer got cranky with me. I had broke down here.
Just doing what you told it to do.
It did, yeah, I can't blame it on nobody but myself. It's thinking. It's still thinking. Or we-
Which you downloads videos. I mean, this is a crap sheet. I mean, just guess. Oh, yeah, it's there.
That's your presentation, you know, it's not there.
Nope, that's regular.
Oops. Yes. Call to order at 6:13. Adoption of the agenda is presented. Favor. Carried. delegation, we have Lisa to review.
Joyce, come on up to the podium there.
Thank you, guys, for letting me use up a little bit of your meeting time. I appreciate it very much. I just wanted to provide some information, more or less on the newspaper industry, because a lot of people aren't aware about how the industry works, but also about the ECA review. You may know that, of course, the industry is suffering a great deal. We've seen hundreds of community newspapers close their doors in North America. And of course, we've seen many go online, like you guys have seen with your Hanna Herald. But I haven't heard of any newspapers online that are making any money. So how long they will survive is unknown, but the only ones really making the money online is Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and those people. And unfortunately, that's not, I don't think, helping our communities very much. But and we might just want to brush it off by saying, well, the internet is taking it over, and that's the future, and we don't need to look back. But we do have to ask ourselves: is the internet really doing the job for communities that it should be doing? There are those who will say they don't read their local newspaper and instead get their news on their phones, or but I think we have to ask, are they really getting their local news, or are they just getting the national, provincial, the Trump news instead of our local news? And worse yet, are they just getting opinions instead of actual factual articles that have been fact checked? So it's kind of a scary future for our world, not just for me as a newspaper person, but for the world as a whole, because in my opinion, I think it's the downfall of democracy, and I think it is hurting communities. Those millions of dollars we are giving to Zuckerberg and Gates isn't helping, and not $1 will come back to our community, that's for sure. Now, I give an example of how I don't think the online is working, and that's the federal government. Last year, the federal government spent $140.76 million of our taxpayers' money in advertising. 6 million of that was spent in print, while 64 million was spent on digital advertising. I don't know about you, but I've asked around to a lot of people in the last 10 years since they've been putting their ads up on various digital platforms, and I've only once spoke to someone who said, I think maybe I did see one ad from the feds, but I don't know about you, but I haven't seen any. And I do know many people that actually block advertising, so it is a concern. Businesses in East Central Alberta need the reach, and that the ECA review has, whether they know it or not. Unfortunately, Zuckerberg has convinced them that if we pay him billions, it's an effective marketing tool. But sadly, I've seen a lot of startups close before they reach their 2-year anniversary, because they were convinced that advertising on Facebook was the be-all. The old saying is, you get what you pay for, and free advertising on Facebook is free for a reason. Now, my point is, a community newspaper is not just the distribution of news and advertising. It is part of the fabric of the community, and I think you well know that, because the Hanna Herald's been the fabric of this community for years and years. But it also is the printed record of history that can't be replaced online. Online may be a messenger to some extent, but it's not a builder of the community. It's the community that makes a successful community newspaper. It's the community sending in the news and photos. It's the business people who support the paper, because that's what creates a news hole. And it's not paid subscriptions like what some people believe. When I was a paid circulation newspaper, 8% of my revenue was from subscriptions. That wasn't rated print or distributed newspaper. When we look at the success of a community newspaper, we have to look at the community. That's what newspapers started out to be way back when East Central Alberta was first being settled. The businessman did the advertising that created the news hole for the community, and the community sent in the news and the photos, and that one guy sitting in the little office down the street, all he did was put it together and knew how to operate a printing press. So the advertising revenue at that time grew, of course, to the extent that one publisher was able to hire a reporter, and it kept going up from there. So now we depended on reporters to do a lot of the coverage of the news in the community rather than the community reporting to the paper. But newspapers have lost that revenue to the digital media, which means the news hole has shrunk, and we no longer have the revenue to pay for reporters. Unfortunately, digital media isn't putting reporters in our communities to cover local events nor council meetings. So we are back to the community supplying the news. We've actually gone a full circle. The depressing result is, however, that there is no longer a community newspaper and therefore nothing left to hold that community together, let alone maintaining democracy. Also worse yet, for communities, it's the dollars leaving the community, because dollars spent outside the community online never will return to the community. So now, turning to the ECA review, we went regional back in the 90s because our communities were becoming small enough in population that businesses had to reach farther and farther afield to sustain and or grow their revenue. Our community really is now the East Central Alberta community. It is no longer just Hanna or Coronation or Stettler or even special areas. Our community is much larger, and we need to embrace that. Putting your full page or half page into the ECA review reaches 27,833 homes. And you need to reach those homes, especially since Hanna is situated in the northwest corner of special areas. So you've got a lot of communities that are within an hour's driving distance of Hanna that will not necessarily be reached if you're not in the ECA review. And I know a lot of those communities support Hanna. Another advantage to being in the ECA review.
That's 5.
How much time do I have?
5. I'll give you a couple more minutes to wrap up.
Oh, my goodness. Archiving and nursing obituaries, you guys.
I'll be reasonable.
I really only got this page and that little bit.
Okay, carry on.
Okay. So archiving your news, the obituaries, events, and photos for that matter, the reports on your debates and decisions at this council meeting. They're not going to, or they will eventually be lost online. Your recording will eventually be gone. And so online archiving digitally does not last. As new technology progresses so fast, it leaves that old news inaccessible. Your page from August to the end of September in the review got 32,608 ad view impressions online in our marketing platform, and that was pushed out on 7 different platforms as well as a landing page. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by a landing page with this material. Now, unlike the internet, people don't have to go to our news. We go to them, and our distribution is audited by an outside auditing firm. I am still very hopeful that I can find a full-time reporter to be working and living in Hanna, which will result in more dollars staying in Hanna. So then I have to ask, how local is local? The ECA review has been a member of the Hanna Chamber of Commerce, active in many of the chamber-sponsored events, and spent dollars on chambered signage each year. I think since the early 2000s, I've been a member. We've tried to cover as many of the events in Hanna that have been advertised in the ECA review over those years. Personally, I've lived in special areas for 7 years ranching and lived the rest of my entire life only 1 or 2 miles from the special areas border. I have done and still do business in Hanna Most recently, I've done extensive interior and exterior renovations to my home using only Hanna and area businesses. I play ladies fastball on the Spondon team, traveling throughout special areas to games and tournaments, getting to know the region and the people personally. And I'm an active member of the Spondon Ag Society. So the ECA review supports local in every way that I can. Finally, money spent in Alberta stays in Alberta. Many surveys have been done that show a dollar spent in a community will stay in that community 6 to 10 times before it actually moves. So for those reasons, I ask you to consider increasing your communications budget to allow for the town of Hanna full page to run in the ECA review. I would also like to commend the town of Hanna and the staff who put together an excellent full page promoting their community. That was and still is my dream for communities when I went regional years ago. The review is the vehicle to build strong communities, and we all need to broaden our support of local being, because local is now East Central Alberta local. And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions of Joyce?
Thank you. I do have a copy of my report of each one. Just kidding.
We did a motion to thank Joyce, publisher ECA review for her presentation of the newspaper. Councilor Bolton. All in favor? Carried.
And I'm off to support your local restaurant for summer.
You're making me jealous.
Oh, no, summer's nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Mr. Reese, did you want to speak?
No, I wasn't aware that I could speak tonight, so I didn't come prepared to speak, but I think I spoke with Mr. Olson, and I think he's quite aware of what my concerns are. And I just in the letter.
Lee? Good. Moving on.
Mr. Moore's not here.
Stop. Motion to accept the minutes of the September 12th meeting. There's a mission, sorry. Councilor Bolton, none. Council makes motion, all in favor? Carried. Minutes of the land use bylaw meeting. The errors and omissions. Hearing none, motions accept. Mr. Olson, all in favor? Carried. Finance reports. Accounts payable. Questions, concerns?
I had one question, but I read further through the minutes, way down about the new painting that's going to be done.
Oh, the mural.
Yeah. Took a while to find it, but then
Any other questions?
could I ask why only 20%? Is she not going to get it done this year, or is she starting it more next year?
That's just a deposit.
That's just a deposit, Councilor Thurl.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's what she requested as deposit to get the materials.
Yeah, no,
I
that's good.
don't have an ETA or
Yeah.
on timeline.
Yeah. I've seen 20%. I thought, oh, okay, so.
Artistes do things at their own schedule. Oh, she's an artiste for sure. Very talented.
Any other questions? Hearing none, council accept accounts payables listings for general accounts check number 42816 to 42850 and direct deposits 002387 to 002472 for information. Counselor Farrell, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Statement of revenue. Any questions or concerns? Reply. Motion. The council accepts the statement of revenue and expense report for September 2023 for information. Motion, Councilor Murphy, all in favor? Carried. Budget overview. Campground had another good year.
Yeah.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, motion of council accept the budget overview for September 2023 for information. Motion, Councilor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Capital budget update. Questions or concerns? Hearing none, council accept the third quarter capital budget update that dated September 2023 for information. Motion. Councilor Thurl, all in favor? Carried. Committee reports. Community services.
Yeah, we brought forward name of Erica Johnson to be nominated to sit on our council, so
On your board,
on our board, yeah. Not council, yeah, board. And then we're going to have a little discussion on the handy van usage and the rental, and we're waiting for the CAO and them to come back to our next meeting with some suggestions or whatever to bring back towards council. And we had a discussion on the ladies hockey usage of the hockey rink, so we set it at $10 an hour, and it's going to be brought forward here to town council. So that was pretty well most of the business.
Anything special over and above? Any questions, Mr. Farrell? Hearing none. Motion to accept new reports as read, Community Services Board, September 18th, 2023. Motion, Councilor Farrell, all in favor? Carried. Senior Administrative Officials Report.
Mr. Mayor, just want to touch on the downtown redevelopment project. So I've had a resident in concerned that the newspaper didn't accurately portray the discussion of what work was going to be entailed as part of the project, because they came in and thought it was just, we were just doing the above ground stuff, not doing any infrastructure. So I did tell them the project is right from the bottom up, including your sanitary, storm water, road base, paving, the whole bit. And he was happy to hear that. But I just said that, you know, I can't control what's written in the newspaper, but certainly the direction from council always has been we're not going to just do stuff above the ground when we know we've got infrastructure that needs to be replaced below ground. So just wanted to reiterate, if anyone's listening, if the newspapers are gonna pick it up, but we are doing the total package is the plan if we're successful with grant funding. So I just wanted to reiterate that. I don't know if there was anything else that I needed to point out. I think I shared this with some of you before. So the agreement we had with the VIC to operate the VIC ended up being a cost of just over $29,000 to the town to operate the VIC for the summer. It was unfortunate. We weren't able to receive any Canada Summer Jobs, or Harvest Sky wasn't. I don't think anyone in town received any Canada Summer Jobs federal funding this year. So I know Mr. Keurig is here
Yeah, well,
Thursday. Yeah, I don't know if any of you are planning to attend. I'm going to be out of town at a meeting on Thursday, but if somebody is attending, certainly reiterate to Mr. Keurig that
I've talked to him twice.
yeah, that we are very disappointed that our community did not receive any Canada Summer Jobs funding this year. So I think that's it. I think you all noticed we sold another lot in Fielding Place. So that's 2 now. So it'll be hopefully under construction. So hopefully we've got some movement there, some momentum there that we keep building some more there. So that's good news. Kevin's report, just a quick info for council. So Kevin phoned me this morning. We had one of our compressors down, but we ended up getting it fixed today. Danny, our ice technician, was out. Was nothing major. It was something to do with the fail safe. Something, if something wasn't doing this, then it wouldn't kick this compressor on. So they made the adjustments, and it was back up and operating this afternoon. So everything seems to be running well there. And I don't know if there's anything else to share, but I certainly would answer any questions council may have. The other thing too, and I don't know if I shared it with you or if you're aware, but I just want you to be aware. So I know it was in the post office box too. So the next solar public consultation is November 18th, 12 o'clock, 12 till 2 is the open house at the community center on Saturday, November 18th. So if you weren't aware of that, here's a reminder. And I'm prepared to answer any questions if there's any council has.
Still optimistic about grant funding to find out in the next month?
I don't know if it'll be the next month, Councilor Olson. It will be probably closer to year end. With the feds, they're very methodical in their process. So. As you see, one of the items on our agenda later on is part of their questions, so.
The lighting, how's it coming for the airport? Are we still going to use the old stuff?
No, we can't use the
Okay.
old, so our airport has been no lights since middle of August, somewhere in there they came in. Last I heard, as of last week, they're still saying the lights are supposed to come in mid-October. So next week, hopefully they will be in and installed thereafter, but I haven't heard any further updates, so.
Next, Michelle's report.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to add there. I guess the only new thing is she does have it in her report. So to try and assist the food bank clients, we did have, for the first time, we had one of our drivers there on Wednesday and available to give anyone a ride. Ride back with their groceries. I don't think they were busy, but was the first time, so we're gonna continue to do that. I think we've secured a driver for Wednesdays at that time, so. But that's about it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
She does have attached to her report, the Wellness Network, Wellness Committee, and how they progressed and what they spent their grant dollars on, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to add at this time. It's a training. And Katie's picking up real fast. There's a lot to, on that, when we attended the conference week ago, 10 days ago. Which is good.
The only thing, Mr. Mayor, I forgot to, and I'm not sure, I don't have any of the details. I know Brent and Lori are aware, but Apex sounds like they're getting ready to do second stage of the work they just did this summer. So the valves that were on recall. So they have a startup meeting on Thursday. I'm not around, but the only concern I have that I'll voice with Brent and Lori moving forward is just timing. Because they called the meeting for Thursday and I think it's supposed to start 4 days after. So if there's gonna be work that has, where they're going to close alleys down, we need more time than that to make sure our residents are aware if they need to access in and out of their alleys. So I'm not sure what their plans are. I haven't heard that. They'll know on Thursday and fill me in and we'll go from there. But I'm assuming they are planning to do the next phase, which is fixing the valves that need to be replaced. So.
Yeah, I found it very weird. They would hydrovac them out, look at them, and then fill it back in.
Yeah.
Mr. Olson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to talk about our lagoon a little bit.
Caught me off guard there, Brent.
I know, I didn't put it in the report, I forgot.
I was prepared for this, so.
We have made the decision that we are not releasing the lagoon this year. Due to the dry weather, no rain, even though people are still using water, we were only a foot above our outlet. And because of that, Environment had reached out to several communities asking what our plans were. When I told them that we were going to hold on to it and we have room, they were very excited because it would have changed our operating code of practice operating on it. We would have had to do probably 6 more sampling ammonia and different things because it doesn't have enough retention time. And once you do those, then you're mandated to keep doing them, and it's just an extra cost to the community. So they were very happy that we were going to hang on to it. There's no penalty. It's our discretion if we are allowed to. So we made that decision. They're well aware of it, and we'll see what happens next year. And other than that, I don't have anything else to add. At least.
The dust control in the alleys has been getting thumbs up, so very positive feedback.
Yeah, we're
Other
trying
than, why didn't mine get done yet? Which is fine.
and some of them we have to be careful because if we add too much material, it changes the runoff and then people's yards are flooded. And so
Well, I had to go with a couple of guys drive around the back alleys,
yeah,
see where. So they're getting there.
they're coming. It's not easy to please everybody.
No, they're wondering if you're going to get it sloped away from the center of the back alley down to where it drains off, not.
We've been, Braden's been doing very good at taking pictures.
Yeah.
When it does get some
I
moisture.
explained to them, but they're just.
Yeah.
I'll go for a tour with them, see what they.
Well, thanks for.
Motion that council accepts the administrator's reports, 8.01 to 8.03 for information. Murphy, all in favor? Carried. Mr. Mole.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Looks like I'm doing fire first tonight. As you can see from the stats that were in your package, third quarter's been slightly quieter than last year. We had 41 incidents compared to the 44 in last year. We're currently on pace though to have our third or fourth busiest year ever. Our highest incident category this last quarter was rescue MVAs at 13, followed closely by grass fires at 11. As most of you are probably aware, we did have 3 members along with 1 member from special areas deployed to Fort Smith, Northwest Territories on request of the Alberta provincial government. They were gone for 18 straight days in late August, early September. The deployments are 7 to 14 days, and we found out the 14-day deployment did not include the 2 days it took to drive there or the 2 days to drive home. So some of them had to do a little rescheduling with employers, but our thanks to those 3 that went along with the special areas member. It's a big commitment. Speaking of membership, we're still currently full at 30 members, so we're liking our retention at this time. Training update, I attended the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs Fire Rescue Canada conference in mid-September. We're teaching the NFPA 1051 wildland firefighting course to 24 students this coming weekend in Acadia Valley.
So will that be the first weekend of that course? Your wildfire one?
It's the only.
It's
It's just one.
They've been doing a pre-study and some online stuff. One guy's completed his online out of 24, so it's not bad. We had a high dropout rate going into this last weekend, so we've had some turnover, but it's back full again. And yeah, it is a 1 weekend, very crammed course, but it's just a basic starter course. It leads into being able to teach them their wildland urban interface course on sprinklers and protecting communities in the forest protection area, which is what our guys were doing when they're deployed to Fort Smith. So we're trying to kick up some of that ground training to be ready for more deployments, because that was our second deployment. We last deployed in 19 to high level, or to, yeah, high level. We weren't on Fort Mac, but we were in high level for about 10 days. Was it 14 by the time? That in time they didn't include training or travel was included in their days. So training site update, special area started hauling gravel in last week for the training site in preparation for the installation of our outdoor flammable liquid props. Props have been ordered. They're almost finished being built in Ontario. So if we can just keep this weather going a little longer, we can get concrete poured and maybe even have the props installed. But once winter shows up, it'll come to a halt and we'll pick it up again in the spring. Rescue 3, the truck that was ordered in September of 2021. Got to keep my math straight here. Brent and Rob Palmer and myself traveled to Appleton, Wisconsin last week to do the final inspection on the rescue truck. A rather whirlwind tour. Flew out Monday, inspected Tuesday, flew home Wednesday. It looks very good. And once the factory corrects some deficiencies that we found, it'll start its journey to Canada and eventually on to us.
No fire under the hood isn't a big deal.
Oh, you heard, huh?
Perhaps.
It was warm down there and I wanted the air conditioner turned on in the back, and apparently under the hood wasn't in agreement with it. So it had 20 deficiencies, and out of those, I would say 18 were very minor, and the other 2 are going to require a little bit of go back to the drawing board and figure it out in a little redesign. So I don't expect to see it until the middle of November at the earliest. And I think it'll be later than that, just going by how supply chain issues have been happening and everything else going on in the world. When it's finished there, it gets driven from Appleton to Calgary, gets its Alberta inspection and a few more things added to it there before it comes on to us. So it'll take us a little while before we see it.
Still have to Canadian Tire.
No, we don't have to do that. That's just on trailers and light passenger. Yeah,
That's
I know.
bizarre, but yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Any questions on the fire department report? Seeing none, I'll move on to development officer. You got your stats, not much to add to it other than that 46 overall for the end of the third quarters, except for 22. So number of permits seem to be staying kind of the same. Any questions on that? Emergency management, not much to add other than what was in my written report. Just been following what's going on up north over the summer. Starting to talk to the special areas emergency management group about where we're going with meetings and kind of try to get them to do a plan for 24. So we have some dates ahead of time and know where we're headed. And then been in early talks with the DEM in High River. They're going to start doing some ICS specific courses. So when they start offering them there, we're going to try to piggyback in on some of their courses. We don't have enough people wanting to take those courses to host. So it's sometimes easier just to tag on to somebody else's.
Well, special areas did a number of ICS courses during COVID.
We did our 1s, 2s, and
300s.
ICS 300.
Yeah.
This is more the job specific. So if you want to be a incident commander, or you want somebody to be a scribe, or you want them to be platoon lead, different positions within the ICS chart, that you take a 1-week course just on that specific role. So it's rather intense
It's a whole week.
training on specific ICS roles. So we will maybe have 3 or 4 people that would go do something like that. I think it's pretty high end,
Yeah.
a lot of commitment to it. So any questions? That's all.
First of all, we need a motion to accept our fire department's 2023 third quarter report for July to September as 2023. Thanks, Chief David Moll, for presenting for this evening. Motion, Councilor Carroll. Thanks, man. All in favor? Carried. Development. Motion to council accept town of Hanna development permit statistics for a report from 2023 third quarter, July to September. Information, Deputy Development Officer David Moll for presenting this evening. Motion. Councilor Murphy. All in favor? Carried. And emergency management, council accept the town of Hanna emergency management 2023 third quarter reports, July to September for information. Thank you, Director of Emergency Management, for presenting this evening. Motion.
Sure.
Councilor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Guess who's up next, Trace?
Hello. July to September 2023, I moved into in-person contact. My leg is healed to some degree. It's no longer broken. So very happy about that, being able to make that in-person contact, talk to people, set up meetings, move forward. Lots of cleanup projects that were quite large have been in the process of near completion. I don't know if anybody had noticed around town, so feeling quite satisfied with some of those projects. For the most part, everyone was willing to work with me and work through any of the hiccups that they might have. And I answered a lot of questions. A lot of the challenges that I'm still facing is access to information, or essentially people not calling me back, not responding to those letters, or not being home at the time that I visit them. So trying to work through those challenges as well. Still the same message delivery, every attempt to gain compliance through working with people, extending deadlines, working with them, understanding that they have specific needs and not setting hard dates with people who are in town here who do require some assistance. Statistics, pretty busy summer with the exception of my injury, of course. Officer generated is a focus that is basically me out observing in the community when I get a complaint in one area, instead of just looking at that one area, that one location. If I see things along the way, I will address those as well. That's proactive work that I have done. Not a lot have moved to MGA, which is good. Getting compliance from people through the first initial steps was really great as well. Understanding for the most part, had a lot of people reach out to thank me for my work, which was nice and appreciated. Some people not so much thankful. However, we worked through that. And I appreciate their continued willingness to continue to work with me. Fourth quarter, I'm going to be looking at transferring documentation from handwritten to electronic for retention purposes, and that's one of the priorities of the fourth quarter. Special focus on media and marketing pieces, so they are not a last minute, get this in by this date. They do require some updating, and I hope to take care of a lot of that for Lori and Katie, so it's not on the back burner. I'm going to be looking at updating the animal control bylaw with the interest of the urban hen program, as you had indicated, and addressing any challenges with the community members who are hesitant to put complaints in writing to alleviate some of their concerns about privacy and information sharing. That's going to be some of the focus of some of the media that I'm going to try and develop. So they understand that their names and their information are protected when they do call in and report a concern. Trying to capture those information calls is also something I'm going to try and focus on identifying for our statistics. And then moving into identifying the needs to create a more efficient customer service driven delivery and work with the CAO for the next budgeted year. Thank you.
Any questions? Councilor Bowden?
Thank you for your report, Tracy. So most of your media will be educating,
That's a big focus, yeah.
which I think is huge. So thank you.
Any others? That was easy. Motion council accept municipal enforcement 2023 third quarter report, July to September 2023. Thank you to municipal enforcement Rico for presentation this evening. Motion. Councilor Bowden. All in favor? Carried. The group, I always mess this up. Gruder? Gooder. I apologize. Kim, do you want to speak to this?
I don't know if there's much to speak to, Mr. Mayor. As council is aware, the Gooders were longtime residents of Hanna. Mr. Gooder was a businessman. Mrs. Gooder was a teacher and very active in the community. She served on council between 74 and 1980. They did provide a donation to the town of Hanna for a bursary. So originally, the amount of the donation was $114,106.42. Each year, a committee has recommended and the appointment or the award of 3 $1,500 scholarships to post-secondary students, so $4,500 annually. Once the 23 checks are cashed, the balance in the bursary will be $61,039. So the three winners or three chosen applicants this year were Kennedy McKinnon, taking Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Actually, all three were Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Veronica Peterson and Madison Pittman. So we do have a committee of Connie Deadlock, Audra Limpert, and Councillor Kroll who reviewed the applications and brought forward these three names. So
Three very, very well deserved candidates by looks of it. So most of the council's information report regarding the Fred and Freda Gruder education bursary. Congratulations to the 2023 recipients, Kennedy McMillan, Veronica Pearson, and Madison Pittman. Motion. Councilor Cole, all in favor? Carried. 9.06 tax recovery.
So, Mr. Mayor, as council's aware, going through the tax arrears process, we had 3 properties go to tax auction on September 11th. There were no bids received through the tax auction on the 11th. So council has the ability to take title to those properties. Administration is recommending that council take title or request title to, I guess, request that the land titles office cancel the existing certificate of title and issue a new one to the town of Hanna as tax forfeiture and to dispose of the property at market value. So the 2 residential properties are vacant. We recommend that council take title to them. The third is a commercial building, and I did have a meeting with the owner last week, and I'm hopefully maybe overly realistic, but I'm hoping that based on that discussion, that we can start to get some payments on that property and move it forward. So I would like to hold off on taking title to that property at this point and allow the owner to show that they are serious and are going to make their payments. And at any point in time, council, if they're not, we can come back and council can then choose to take title to that property. So recommending 2 of the 3 at this point in time, and both of them are vacant residential properties.
Do we have a timeline on payment plan?
We're working on that.
Okay.
We're working on that, Mr. Mayor. And then generally, if council does give us direction to take title to those properties, we will list them with our realtor and let our realtor post them for sale and see what types of offers on those properties we get.
Any questions? Councilor Bowden?
This has to do with previous property. Have we had any offers on any of the other, the one north of New York?
No.
And if not, is there any promotion being done to try and get rid of them? Or how does that-
Well, the promotion that's being done is they are both signed with for sale signs and on the MLS listing, so.
Any other questions? Hearing none, recommend motion that whereas properties described as lot 8, block 45, plan 6133 AW, tax roll 2, with cal 12,000, and lot number 17, block 22, plan 6133 AW, tax roll 34,700, were offered for sale by public auction September 11th under the tax recovery provision of the Government Act. Whereas the properties were not sold at auction, and whereas the attempts by administration to collect outstanding taxes have not been successful, and whereas council desires to acquire the title to property as tax forfeiture, council authorized the CAO to request the land titles office to cancel the existing certificate of titles and issue new ones to the town of Hanna as tax forfeiture and further disposal of property at market value. Motion. What's that?
Once more?
Yeah. I did too, buddy.
Didn't catch that.
Yeah, I didn't get
Motion,
that.
Councilor Olson. All in favor? Carried. What was that second one, right?
Yeah.
Community Service Department fees and charges amended. Oh, sorry. Community service fees and charges. There we go.
So Councilor Thoreau referred to this. So at the March 27th Community Services Board meeting, they passed a resolution recommending a council approve policy 2023-01, which approved the fees and charges for facilities, programs, and services in the Community Service Department for the 23 calendar year. Those recommendations came forth to council at their April 11th meeting. There were a few minor adjustments made to the policy that day, and then the policy was approved with those amendments. One of the charges in the arena was for adult hockey, and it's $140 an hour. We've had our ladies hockey team has been struggling the last few years with attendance, and if they book a time at $140, they don't get enough people out. It's becoming cost prohibitive. So they approached administration and said, look, we're really struggling. We know that there's more women out there who would play, but maybe on a more of a drop-in basis. Would council consider offering them a drop-in fee for their time? So administratively, we thought it was a good idea. The time that they use is generally a very quiet time, late Sunday afternoon. And we do have staff there already that would be transitioning from whatever games were in the afternoon with minor hockey. So staffing is already there, the ice is already there. And we thought if we move this forward, it might bring more ladies out and create more interest and bring more ladies out and be able to grow their sport again. So we recommended that to the Community Services Board, who have since recommended to council to amend the policy to include a $10 per player drop-in fee for ladies Sunday night hockey.
That's what you do for the noon hour drop-in, correct?
Noon hour drop-in is free.
That's right.
Yeah. So the thought is if we get 10 ladies out, we get $100 that we didn't have. And if they can continue to grow, maybe they'll, be back to where they were before. So
What's the thought of wanting compensation for this, but not for noon hour hockey?
it's just been tradition. I think, Councilor Olson, noon hour hockey's been free forever, right or wrong. It's been free as a service provided over the lunch hour. So this is and that's a total drop in men, ladies, kids, adults, seniors. This would be specific to females. So
I to do this free this year. Well, I would do it, just give them their hour, or what do they have?
We charge the
Do
men
the same.
$10.
Yeah, either or.
well, the men have more players, so they would lose money doing it that way. So
It still costs the town,
She's thinking new now.
the new
oh,
note.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something that we had contemplated bringing forward, was charging noon. Typically, we've left our noon hour and our parent and taught as free quality of life
Public skating, same way.
programs of skating. So, but yeah, I'm sure no one on the Community Services Board would object if you wanted to amend that to no charge for the 23-24 season.
Yeah, I'd amend that too. Make it free, make it.
Well, and see what happens. See if they can grow the program. And if free doesn't grow the program, well then.
Yeah, I know $10 is gonna turn anybody away, but it just seems strange to me.
Sure.
Yeah, I would make that motion to amend, to make it a drop-in fee of $0 per player, to make it an easy typo.
Let's second that.
So the minor hockey, are the other rates the same or? have they
Yes.
gone up?
Yes, no, the other rates are as were approved.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? It's fine. Okay, hearing no more, council amends the policy 2023-01, community services department fees charges to add drop-in fee of $0 per for ladies hockey and ice lot recommended by the Community Services Board. Actually, this would be recommended to the school board anymore.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, motion, Council Olson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. CCTI funding.
So, Mr. Mayor, as we briefly discussed earlier in the meeting, so we have submitted the application on behalf of the town for the downtown redevelopment projects to Prairie Can under their Canada Coal Transition Initiative Infrastructure Fund. In the amount of our application is $4,194,074 to the contribution from the town of Hanna towards this project, based on the cost estimate of 5.7 million, is $1,585,781. Going through the application, there is a question where if there's municipal commitment, kick off yes. Now they want a formal resolution that the town of Hanna is prepared to match this grant in that amount. So
25%.
it's not quite 25%. It's probably a little bit more just based on the $5.7 million budget, and the max from Prairie's Can is set at 4.1. So and I think we've gone through this previously with council. So Prairie's Can had allocated approximately $8.2 million to the Harvest Sky region for under the infrastructure fund. The municipalities have met numerous times to identify priority projects, which we brought to council earlier. And so out of the 8.2 million allocation, basically the Special Areas Industrial Park will be receiving approximately 3.5 million for their industrial park. The town of Hanna downtown redevelopment project would be for just over 4 million, 4,197,000, and the Hanna Roundhouse restoration work, $500,000. So that comes up to the 8.2 in the allocated to the region. And that's what Prairie's Can is working off of, knowing that the communities have met, discussed, and moved forward with these as our priority projects. So we just need a formal commitment from council on our matching. And as I said in the report, we've been waiting to use our MSI funding from the province. We haven't used any since 2020. And what was the federal gas tax, which got changed to the Building Canada Fund. We again haven't used any of those grant dollars since 2020. So between the two pots, we're planning to allocate our full amount of the Building Canada Fund in the amount of $759,430. And we would use $826,351 of our municipal sustainability initiative funding. That would be how we would come up with the 1.585 that we're required to match with. So
Questions?
Can I just make a comment regarding the Roundhouse? That is a matching grant, the $500,000, and Harvest Sky applied for that. And they're also applied for Travel Alberta for $250,000 is what they were looking at. I believe 50,000 is what they are more likely to get. And that some of the matching needs to be accounted for before they can access some of the Prairie's Can funding.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Motion, the council confirm municipal commitment to a maximum of 1,585,781 towards the downtown Hanna redevelopment project, subject to approval receiving funding from Prairie Scan through the Alberta Coal Transition Initiative infrastructure funds, the amount of $4,194,074. Motion. Councilor Thorold. All in favor? Carried. Municipal Library.
I don't have much to add. Counselor Murphy may, and I'll turn the floor over to her.
Well, thank you, Mr. Neal. All right. We worked on a plan of service for the next 5 years. I was on the original group was about 15 members of the community, and then we whittled it down to 2 or 3 people. And this is what we came up with. And I think it's, I'm very pleased with it. The board is very pleased with it, and I hope you will agree that it was a really good, progressive plan of service for the next 5 years. Anybody have any questions about it? Gosh, I hope not.
Oh, one.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever asked about a user fee? You know, like the help. You know, and help, like bring in some of the funds, like you say, fundraising. So literally some people are looking at, why don't you guys charge a minimal fee?
The library is probably the last free sanctuary available in Alberta. And we like that. It's a safe place to go. It's welcoming and open to everyone who may not match you or I. And whether you're wealthy or poor, it's somewhere you can go and have access to internet, access to ancestry. Information is all free, and we don't want to change that. We would rather find other ways of getting funding to help us stay open and provide these services, because this is really the most important place in Hanna is the library, in my opinion, because that's where all of the future members of this group right here that's where they start with the children, making them love learning and being around books. So we've talked about it many times, and I'm so pleased that I have a group to agree, like I do, that it's just, that's not the place for user fees.
So Councilor Murphy, question. So there, and I know it's changed. Is there any membership fees charged now? No membership fees?
No membership fees.
And my understanding, there used to be membership fees, but the trouble is because of the library system, provincial wide, if you become a member of a library system anywhere, you can come into the Hanna Library and use our
Absolutely.
services and facilities. So it got to be a point that if Hanna was charging $25 for membership and Drumheller was not charging anything for membership, residents could go down, get a membership there and still access all their services. So it basically saw almost all libraries basically go to free membership.
With free membership. And that was really important. And Marigold Library Services that really we rely on to get all the new material comes from them. And they've also said, you know, just keep your membership free. And that alleviates that issue. It might have only been $10. It's like if your book is a couple of days late, it might only be 10 cents. But then the person just doesn't bring the book back because they become overwhelmed. And so we waive them very often, especially if it's someone who's struggling. And it's just it's a safe place to go. Really is a wonderful place. If you haven't been to the library, you have to come and visit.
Why did you look at me?
I looked at everybody. No, I went right across the board.
I think that was a a wise decision that was made when the school did their renovation, kind of tying in there. So it allowed the students to still have access to traditional library services that at that time weren't available in the school anymore without having to have a membership.
Thank
I
you.
know my wife and my grandson are avid users of the library, so.
My grandchildren are too.
Yeah.
And the summer reading program is outstanding, and the projects and the events, and it's just
So
absolutely.
is there a, for lack of a better term, a Friends of the Library Society or anything like that, or?
There is one in Delia. We don't have one here. And it has to be created outside of the library board.
No, I realize that.
If we did, then we could do a casino once every 3 to 5 years and collect some funds that way. And, but it's encouraging someone outside of the board. Should I ever not be a member anymore, once I'm retired from council, I would probably start one.
Yeah, no,
Because it's so important. And it is really the easiest way to get funding, is to have a friends. And as I said, the Friends of the Dealer Library would love to tag along with us. And then we double dip and do everything together. But we just need to have enthusiastic members of the community to start one. Yeah. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Council accept the Hanna Library Plan of Service for the 2023 to 2028 information. Motion, Council Murphy.
You bet.
All in favor? Carried. Music in the park.
So, Mr. Mayor, just a simple kind of synopsis of 2023 Music in the Park. You know, I think council's aware, ran from July 2nd to August 27th in Hector King Hunter Park. Had a volunteer program coordinator, volunteer sound technician. And this is kind of their thoughts on how the season went and you know, things that worked out well, things that could be improved. And they basically, I think, just wanted to thank council for support of the program, and hopefully as we move through budget preparations, that council be considerate of providing funding to the 2024 summer. I can answer any questions if council has too, but just kind of a synopsis of the summer.
I find that 750 almost disheartening
Yeah, no, 100%.
because it runs for
9 weeks, yeah.
It's about 80 people a week. Yeah.
Council,
I think there's some comment that some of the residents that are around the park may still be able to benefit without being on site. So I don't know if those numbers are, you know, the numbers may be a little higher than what is indicated in that report. Where some just step out on their deck and they listen to it. So it would be interesting to, yeah, I don't know how you could measure it
canvas
accurately.
the area and
Drive by us.
Anyways, I've attended several times and people have mentioned, please tell council that they really enjoy this and to please provide funding for it. So like I said, I think the numbers are not as accurate as if you were to also consider a certain amount in the surrounding area.
And the heat, to be honest, Mr. Mayor, had a big impact. I couldn't attend most of them because it was just too hot and delicate.
okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, council accept the 2023 Music in the Park report for information. Motion, Council Cole. All in favor? Carried. Ten point zero one, bylaw 1032-2023.
Ask you to give up your chair. So Devin needs to sit there. Hold over,
If
Devin.
you have mine, you can write
Just thinking,
You
you
can
know,
sit here. You can
No,
sit
no,
here.
it's pretty tight in there, so don't go right on in, Devin.
Thank you. Sorry to kick you out.
You can sit here.
Yeah.
Oh, good night.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna spend a little bit of time just going through this document, not necessarily the document, but the process. So as council's aware, Palliser Regional Municipal Services serves as the arm of basically is the planning arm for the town of Hanna, as well as most east central Alberta communities. One of the projects that they do or programs they work on is planning documents such as this, such as the land use bylaw, such as municipal development plans. So we, like I said, the previous land use bylaw was done adopted in 2012. We started the review process very preliminary in June of 2022. And it is common for land use bylaw to be comprehensively reviewed and updated every 5 to 10 years. I think Palliser's standard is pretty much 10 years. Sometimes 10 ends up being 12 or 13, depending on what programs they have and what projects they have on the go. So administratively, Mr. Moles, development officer, myself, and Tracy, a little bit of input from Devin, met numerous times to review the old bylaw and to prepare the new bylaw. We got it to a state that we wanted to share it with the public. So there was a open house held in February of 2023. The opportunity for the public to review the draft land use bylaw with Palliser and with town staff and to provide their feedback on the draft. We had numerous comments received that night, and we extended the deadline after for feedback on the land use bylaw. So in April, administratively, we took all of the comments received, compiled them into a what we heard report. That was presented to council for information on April 11th. From there, council directed administration to prepare a report responding to the concerns and questions and to prepare a revised land use bylaw for the formal council approval process. So a document titled Responses to What We Heard report was prepared, which provide detailed responses to each and every comment and question received. The report also provided a recommendation for if and how each concern was considered in the revised land use bylaw presented to council for first reading. So the revised land use bylaw, we'll call it version 2, was received first reading, was made available to the public for review throughout the summer. So received first reading, I believe at our June council meeting. We provided the entire summer to provide the public ample time to prepare for the public hearing. We held the public hearing on September 13th, 2023. The public hearing provided opportunity for the residents, landowners, and business owners to speak directly to council with their concerns, with support of the revised land use bylaw, and a copy of each written submission was provided to council for consideration. So following that meeting, administratively, we looked at some proposed amendments to them to be brought forward. So basically, the ones between 1 and 4 were basically administrative recommendations. They were either something that was missed, typo, mistake in a land use district. The remaining 5 through 12 were suggestions received at the public hearing and council providing direction to administration that they'd like to have that move forward as an amendment. So we drafted the amendment wording, and those of you who did recommend some of those amendments, if we didn't capture it right, please let us know. So the report's a little erroneous in the fact that it says in addition to council motions town administration and Palliser reviewed the land use bylaw. Those were the first four, which were, we believe, were administrative errors or mistakes. The remaining ones were brought forward as a result of discussions at the public hearings. So what our intention to this evening to do, Mr. Mayor, would be to go through each of those 12 amendments and vote on each and every amendment. If the amendment that's presented is carried by a majority, then it would be considered amended and move forward from there. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Olson.
1 and 12.
Yes,
Contradictory?
yes,
Okay,
they are.
we're gonna talk.
That was one thing we need to, we're gonna go a little backwards and we start with 12.
All right.
So, any other questions or concerns about the process?
If you want more stuff, do you want to discuss all that after?
Which,
Any other changes, amendments, discussion not related to 1 through 12?
yeah,
Is it better to have them now?
I don't know if it's better to have them now or, wait, I'm looking Devin to what his,
I would say maybe it's better if we work through the listed ones first and then we
Yep.
can go through any additional ones.
Yep.
Being at second reading, there's still always third reading as well, that motions and amendments can be brought forward. One thing as well is if there are motions tonight for amendments that maybe are more complicated, like maybe there's a complicated change to the bylaw that gets brought forward. It's kind of hard to word that motion right on the spot to make sure that we don't mess up other sections of the bylaw. So if there are other motions that are complicated, administration will request that we word them in a way that you're essentially requesting Palliser administration to go back, look at changes and come back with recommendations on how to achieve that motion, and bring back for third reading a new recommended motion. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But yeah, I guess really it doesn't matter either way. We could go through the listed ones first, or you guys, if you have other ones on there, you can bring those up first. So
Do any of them contradict any of the 12?
No. Not yet. No.
Okay, as requested, we'll start with number 12. With section 9.10 be added,
point one.
sorry, 9.1 be added, in which states construction or erection of a fence in any district requires a development permit.
So, Mr. Mayor, in regards to that, administratively, we went back and forth numerous times in whether we should or whether we shouldn't ask for development permit for fences. One of the comments received and the feedback was to remove the need for a permit for a development permit for fences. So because we were back and forth, for second reading, we took that section out. So it does not, basically reads now that you do not require a development permit for a fence. The amended motion would bring that back into play that you would require a development permit for a fence.
What was the purpose of having a fence put in that in the first place?
It was in our original land use bylaw that we did issue it for
Right.
residential fences, not commercial.
No, right, but why was it in there in the first place? You know, obviously there was a need for it at that time, was there not?
Why was it taken out of the
No,
first?
why was it put in there in the first place?
yeah, it must have just been a municipality choice at that time.
In 2012, when it was
Yeah.
done.
We see it vary across Palliser municipalities. Some require fences, some don't require fences. Most of the time municipality will require a fence permit, a fence permit. Will require a fence permit, mostly just to ensure that people are building fences within the regulations. But other municipalities don't necessarily want administration to have to just handle more permits. They feel that they could do like educational things such as like pamphlets that just make sure residents know what heights they can build to, whatnot, and they don't require residents to go through the permit process, so.
The regulations still exist, permit or no permit, in terms of how high and materials and those types of things.
Whether you require the permit or not, you have to meet the constraints of the land use bylaw or the rest of the land use bylaw.
So if somebody is constructing a fence and it's outside that measurement, then they'd be required to either tear it down or make the change.
Well, they would have a non-conforming fence, so yeah, then the town would be able to look at enforcement measure if you.
So
wanted to.
is the reduced paperwork worth any additional work that might be required having to correct it if people are outside that?
The work it's taking to correct the ones that, and I got to deal with the built fence. Work's taking 5 to 10 times longer than issuing the permit to start with. Not to say that they always follow the permit either, but it's a little easier to get compliance when you go back and say, hey, this was your permit. You went over this.
Before you even
We need to
start.
fix it. But a lot of people, I think if we're not issuing permits, they plead ignorance. They don't know. They built it. Nobody told me I couldn't go over 4 feet high on a front fence. Whereas if you have to have a permit, and we've talked about better educating people in the spring about you need a permit if that's the way it is. I got mixed feelings on it. It'd be nice to, it's a chunk of workload. It'd be nice not to have to worry about, but I think enforcement's gonna go up too much on the other side. Me and Kim have argued this
We
back
went
and
back and
forth.
forth. And
It's, you can't win either way.
Well, that's right. I think with the development permit, when they request one, I think having that and then giving the parameters of what your fence should or shouldn't.
it
be.
opens up that dialogue at
Yeah,
that
It's
point.
communication
That's kind of what I'm leaning
With
towards.
the permit.
and to advertise hard in the spring through Lori's and Katie's department about you require a permit. If that's the way you guys decide to go, that we make sure we educate hard on you require a permit and then we catch them when they're getting the permit on, hey, here's your heights, here's your material requirements. Because it's not just heights anymore. It's starting to turn out to be material. I got a guy pounded fence posts in the other day with, must have been a post pounder, they're ag fence posts. And page wire, you know, so again, it's country. It looks country, Counselor, yes, it does.
But yeah, to me, it would be having the permit still in place. And you're then catching it before the material is purchased and the work is started and all of this stuff.
Hopefully.
I have to agree with you, Counselor.
Oh, that's a first.
Maybe.
Can I get that in writing?
Nope.
It's recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather see it in a permit remain.
And that's what we're recommending now, right? Got
Yes,
it.
well, that's,
Well,
that's
that's
the
a motion that
part.
we would need.
Yeah, that's number
I'm
12,
still-
but we have to make a motion.
Someone
What's the
needs to-
attachment to one?
Then one would go away.
One goes. away.
Okay.
One goes away.
One was missed. If we were taking fences out, we should have had that number 1 in there
Okay.
to show that it didn't require a permit.
Council
That's why we said, let's do 12 before 1.
Yeah,
I like
Council
the,
Bowden,
I'll make that motion.
can we have a little more discussion? Anybody else?
no, I like it.
Okay. Council Bowden makes a motion that section 10 or 9.10.1 be added, which states the construction or erection of a fence in any district requires a development permit. All in favor? Carried. So that means number 1 goes away, correct?
Number 1 goes away, yeah.
So do we need to do anything in making 1
No.
go away?
No.
Perfect.
We withdraw it.
Withdraw, there we go. Any others we need to address other than 12 in a numerical order?
No, now we can go back.
Okay. Number 2, section 9.12.11 is amended by deleting the following error reference source not found.
So that was strictly the
Clerical.
clerical software program used,
and
so.
under each one, it shows your rationale there. So there's a clerical error produced when the document was exported from Word into PDF format. I got rid of a reference like somehow in there. So.
Okay, motion. Councilor Farrell, all in favor? Carried. Number 3, section 10.13.1 is amended by relettering statements A and B and C. Again, clerical,
Yeah.
Just missed.
any questions? Counselor Coral, you look very perplexed. Motion. Counselor Murphy. All in favor? Carried. 4. That the land use bylaw map, part G, section 28 is amended by rezoning 502 Second Ave West, Lot 1, Block 55, Plan 6454, GS from C2 to R2.
So, Mr. Mayor, that particular property was zoned R2 when we started the process. As we moved forward through the bylaw, there was nothing happening with that lot in R2. The proposal was to change it to C2 through the process, but in between that, we had an individual purchase that lot and build a house on it. So the map needs to be adjusted accordingly to keep that lot as an R2 property.
And all the
Councilor
legal
Morgan.
paperwork has been signed and
Yeah.
transferred and land titles and such.
Any other discussion? Motion on number 5 or 4, sorry. Counselor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Number 5, land use bylaw map, part G, section 28, amended by rezoning 401 and 403, Third Ave East, lots 8 and 9, block 2, plan 7711283 from C2 to I for industrial.
So that was a request from the owner of that property to have them changed and redistricted from C2 to I, and it fits in that zone. The other properties adjacent it to the east are industrial.
Isn't that the Ducks Unlimited property?
No,
Oh, it's at the end. It's at the end. Yeah. Okay, no, we're good.
Okay,
That's
My apologies.
Country.
My apologies.
can we get that put into a motion, please? Counselor Murphy, all in favor?
I'm not.
Okay.
Can I sit down here so you can see you?
He waved
Okay,
and you didn't
we
see
need to
it.
vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 6, section 10.15 is deleted.
so Mr. Mayor, that was, section was on solar power plants. So that came as a comment at the public hearing to remove solar power plants. And then again, maybe we did it in backwards order. The number 7 talks about amending 5.1.2 by putting a copy of an application made and approval given in relation to development under section 619 of the Act or any other provincial or federal approval. So the section of that in 10.15 is captured in the next one in 5.1.2.
Okay. So can we get a motion to delete 10?
So what is this state? What's it trying to say?
So I can read you, if you would like, 10.5.2, or sorry, 10.15.1, what currently states prior to making an application for a development permit for a solar power plant, an applicant shall obtain all necessary approvals from the Alberta Utilities Commission. But what the proposed change would be to remove that from solar power plant section and add it in more generally speaking within the development permit requirements section. And then I can read you the wording for that, which is actually in point 7. So the new wording would be a copy of an application made and the approval given in relation to development under section 619 of the Act. 619 of the Act is the section that gives powers to bodies like the UC and our CB to make decisions on permits. And any other provincial or federal approval. So instead of it just being specific to solar power plants, it's saying any decision that needs to be, that's made under 619, the development authority can request a copy of that application.
As additional information when approving development permits.
That's correct. Yeah.
So in other words, no matter what we have to say, AUC is the one that's going to control.
Yes.
But that's.
So then why even have it in there?
We do have some input, Brett, to the AUC.
So the biggest thing, and one of the suggestions made at the public hearing was to remove solar power plant as a discretionary use in urban reserve. Administratively, we responded to council, I believe, and stated that we feel it's best to leave it in as a discretionary use in urban reserve, because then it requires the development permit, because it's a discretionary use. So we can then, as a discretionary use, we can put conditions of approval on it. So we can then say it needs to be fenced, or it needs to be treed, or it needs to be screened, or whatever conditions MPC may want to put on that, as long as the conditions put on by MPC are
Don't
realistic,
interfere with AUC's
valid, and
decision.
don't interfere with AUC's decision. If we remove it as a discretionary use, then it doesn't require a development permit.
And then you have no.
And then we have no ability to put any conditions.
We'll
on
just see it one day. It'll just show up.
What it boils down to is we can't stop it if AUC is approving it, but we might be able to get some of the things we want to be able to tolerate and live with it. Like trees, like screening, not for sure.
12-foot fence in the front.
Because if it's not listed, there's no talking to us about it.
Well, that's kind of what they've implied they would do in the process. And then by making it a condition, then you can make sure that all the stuff that they promised would be included in that developing permit, correct?
Yeah, again, as long as we're not going
Interfering.
against what Alberta Utilities Commission has said they can do. Like if we ask for a bunch of stuff that Alberta Utilities Commission goes, no, that's not applicable, that doesn't need to be there, then we can't enforce that.
So we'll say AUC approves it and they've approved that it can be, I'm just gonna make up a number, within 5 meters of the road or 10 meters of the road. And then the town comes back and on the condition for a permit, they say, no, we want it to be 30 meters from the road. You can't do that because you have to prove it to the extent that the AUC has approved it.
The other thing gives us a little bit of, you find out what their public conscience is. If they know that this is the wishes of the municipality to have these conditions, you find out in a hurry whether they want to be good community minded and try to work with the municipality or not.
Right.
So I guess it's better to have conditions than not.
If you have it as discretionary, they have
Then
to,
you have
we have the
conditions.
opportunity to put conditions. It automatically goes to municipal planning commission. So you yourself get a chance at it then to look at each project on its own merit and
Have input.
see if we want to try to, if we have no choice but to have it on the front door, maybe we get a chance to make it better for us. Maybe.
Because there was discussion at the public hearing about removing it totally, because some of the comments were that it made it seem like we were open to solar farms or solar farms if we had it as discretionary. Like I said, and again, in talking with Tracy about the situation, and I think she shared that with council,
Yeah.
that she advised that it still stay in there because it does give us a little extra potential ammunition in terms of the approval and some of the conditions around it if it's discretionary. So that's a little offshoot of solar power plant, but we are removing the solar power plant section is what 10.15 does.
Or remove that requirement that you see approval.
Yeah, but it removes, I think, the entire section, does it?
Oh, yes, that's right.
And so this would be added to every zone that it be
You-
as a discretionary.
You are.
No,
It's
no,
just-
solar power plant would only be discretionary in UR.
And you are urban.
It's not listed in any other district.
Thank you.
We could have did 7 ahead of 6, I guess, no way.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to do 7 ahead of 6.
Yeah, if a motion hasn't been made yet, we can always do 7 first, just to get that one on before.
We've already done 6.
No, we haven't done the motion yet for 6.
No, so we could jump to 7, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Again, section 5.1.2, and Devin has it handy, I believe, is basically section 5.1 is 5.1.2 is things that do not require or things that additional information that can be requested in doing a development permit application.
Yeah, it says the development authority may also require additional information in order to assess the conformity of the proposed development with this bylaw before consideration of the development permit. Application shall, before the development application shall commence, such information may include, but is not limited to, and then we'd be adding this statement, a copy of an application made and the approval given in relation to development permit under section 619. So the development officer could require that the application and approval from the UC is provided.
As part of this submission.
And so would that include all reports that like a Glint Glare report and all that sort of thing would be in that as well?
Yeah, anything that the UC
They had to
required.
provide.
Yeah, that's correct. You could request any information that you felt you would want to request some of that application. So
Forces some transparency.
Or just to have a copy of it, so you know exactly what the discussion was, what the requirement was.
and by using more general wording, this statement would also apply to other types of approvals under 619. So like there wouldn't be an NRCB approval, but for example, if there was an NRCB approval, then that would apply to this.
So like sticky sulfur, right? Would have been under there, because that was approved by AUC, was it not?
No, it was
No, that
approved
was
by
Alberta Environment.
Alberta Environment, but I don't know if it was approved under section 619, so.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, number 7, if no one has any other concerns.
Any questions? Hearing none, Council Murphy? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Back to number 6. Section 10.15 is deleted. If
I
there's,
can make that.
if there's anything you're unclear about, ask. Because I don't want after this meeting going, I had no idea what we were doing, so.
Yeah, I'm happy to try to answer any other questions.
So again, 1015 was the removal of the solar power plant.
I'll make that motion.
Council Bowden? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Number 8, The definition of renewable energy system attached the amended to have the following statement added. Does not include any system whereby energy is collected using wind energy.
So the current definition of renewable energy system attached is not 100% clear on generation of renewable by wind. So we wanted to ensure that that definition was clear, that the definition of renewable energy system attached does not include any system whereby energy is collected using wind energy.
And another reason why it may be not as clear that it does include wind energy is, if you remember, I believe it was in version 1 of the land use bylaw, we actually had small wind energy conversion
Yeah.
systems.
Yeah.
And that was brought forward as a concern by residents at the open houses. So at that time, small wind energy was already considered under a different definition. So we would have been able to say that's not considered under renewable energy. Because we removed all those regulations from the bylaw, that was a miss on our end to clarify that it's not included in renewable energies now. And that was brought up on the public hearing by residents. So that was a great catch on our end.
So would that be like a little miniature nuclear?
No,
if I want to put a
Wind.
windmill up on my land at the shop.
Yeah.
That covers that.
You couldn't or you could?
couldn't.
Could not.
Oh. So it's just to do with, not any other.
And some of them, Councillor Kroll, are really quite small. They just use little, they're just little engines. But the whistle sound that comes off of those things pop your fillings out. Like, it's just.
Well, it was pretty clear from comments at the public hearing and comments received that people are concerned that their neighbor would be able to generate wind from their residential property specifically.
Yeah.
So we just want to make it clear that you're not allowed to generate wind energy.
In the municipality.
Yeah.
More discussion?
So why is it only wind?
Because we do allow under the definition, and I don't know if Devin has it out in front of him, but we do allow renewable energy systems attached, so people can put solar panels on their roof, on their side of their house, et cetera. They're attached to a structure, so we allow that under this land use bylaw.
So I can read the definition. Means a use whereby a system that produces electrical power or heat to be used for on-site consumption. So that's key wording there, making it clear it's not like a commercial renewable energy system. So used for on-site consumption or heating requirements by means such as, but not limited to, active and passive solar collectors attached to building, geothermal energy or heat exchange systems.
So that would be the tubes on the roof? Is that Devin, right?
I believe.
Geothermal's underground.
Oh, it's underground.
Geothermal's underground, we drill down into the formation and bring the heat from the ground up.
Yeah.
All of the halls incorporated that.
Yeah, and then, sorry, it also states a renewable energy system attached may provide residual power to the grid, but is not intended to produce power primarily for use. So we'd be adding on to that to clarify that this does not mean you can have
Wind.
wind. Yeah.
So the south wall of the water treatment plant has a solar wall.
Yeah.
And we use it to heat the building.
Yeah.
When there's sun's out, so. Everybody understand? Any more questions? Motion on number 8, please. Councilor Thurl. All in favor? Carried. Number 9, the definition of renewable energy system in a freestanding will be amended to have the following statement added. This does not include any system whereby energy collected using wind energy.
So
That's the
same, well, a little bit of the same thing. We have two definitions. So we have definition of renewable energy attached, which
So
means it's
attached
attached
to
to building, and we have freestanding. So this will be the freestanding one, which would say you can't have a windmill.
Primary supply can't put a windmill up on my 6 acres to the east of the shop.
Right.
Were you planning on that?
I actually thought of it.
I'm not surprised. That'd be smart. Yeah.
I'll make that motion if there's no other discussion.
Oh, so Bowden, all in favor? Carried. Number 10, retail sales be moved from a discretionary use to permitted use in the industrial district.
So again, this was a feedback we heard at the public hearing. We felt that the existing definitions and discretionary and permitted uses would allow that to happen in industrial areas, but this just makes it a little bit clearer that retail sales can occur in on industrial site. And I look at you, Mr. Mayor, as someone who has an industrial site too, that it was listed as discretionary before, now it'd be moved from permitted or from discretionary to permitted, so.
Questions, concerns?
Well, this might be the time for one conversation. I blame Devin, he sent me down the path of reading lots of other land use bylaws. Industrial in lots of other places seems to be a little more open and more permitted, less discretionary. They are generally more isolated. I guess less in Hanna, but they're still separate. It's not like commercial, it's kind of sprinkled around with houses around. So what I would like, I'm gonna do the mix-up order thing too. When a development permit for a permitted use says has to be approved. Correct?
If it meets all things without variances, yes.
So in the urban reserve, I believe, there's a line prior to, this is on 25.4.6, prior to approving a development permit application, the development authority must be satisfied that the proposed use will not prejudice the future orderly development of the area. Like, it doesn't specify discretionary use. Can we put that little caveat on every development permit?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find that, but my initial impression is no.
My initial thought without looking at it too, or my initial comment not without looking at it, Councilor Olson, is that urban reserve is a special land use district because it's basically a holding land use district for future development. So that could change. Someone could have an urban reserve parcel that they could turn into R1 or residential acreage, or so that's why my initial thought was I wouldn't put it, I would leave it there and not put it anywhere else, because that's an area that has not been developed.
All right.
The other concern too is that with a statement like that applying to permitted uses in all districts, then you're essentially putting in this option of like gray area, I would say, which gets away from what we would consider to be a permitted use.
So I'm not even sure we could under the Municipal Government Act because of the way it references land use bylaws that.
That's specific.
So but before urban reserve is developed, it has to be reclassified, correct?
It can be developed for what's.
It could be developed. I
use.
think you're allowed to have one dwelling on urban reserve.
Yeah, the current uses are an accessory building, agriculture, extensive agriculture, home occupations, parks, renewable energy system attached, signs and utilities, and then discretionary uses, there's a bigger list. But things like fiber covered buildings, shipping containers, airstrips, athletic recreation facilities, bed and breakfast, campground, dwellings detached and manufactured. Solar power plants, work camp, public building, greenhouse, gravel and sand extraction and storage and exhibition grounds.
Usually before you go further to change it, then you gotta do an area structure plan and come forward to the municipality to get approval on kind of what, you know, I want to make that residential or I want to make it industrial.
This is why.
Yeah, kind of thing, right? It's that future use that you,
We don't know
Hasn't been
what
locked
the
down
future
yet.
use will
No,
be
and
for
that's
that
kind of,
land.
that's what I was, my understanding was, I just want to clarify it, Mike. We don't know, being.
I promise I didn't derail too much. There's a purpose here. So we go through this conversation of discretionary to permitted on industrial, since we're picking on it right now. Permitted already is things like auto body shop, building supply center, bulk fuel, storage yard, utilities, list goes on. This is the list of discretionary that I would like to move to permitted along with the retail that's there. Auction facility, car wash, equipment rental shop, gas barn service station, kennel, manufacturing, all levels, heavy light, print shop, recycling depot, retail, self-storage facility, wrecker and salvage. The ones that I've left out that I would like to leave in discretionary, adult entertainment facility. I don't know what parameters we'd have to do that, but artist studio, I feel that would be more, and we don't want to encourage this in industrial. This would be more of a commercial. Athletic and rec facilities, cannabis production facility has its own things. A dwelling unit as an accessory building should stay discretionary. For obvious reasons, a park, renewable energy system, sign, waste transfer station, and work camp. So those ones I would leave as discretionary, but there's a list of 10 been permitted. They just seem very similar to what's already permitted in my mind.
kennels taking, so there's no choice that it's an automatic approval. You sure you want to go there?
I feel a kennel would be no louder than a building supply center during the day. Dogs barking, and industrial generally, they're not staying there at night, because there is the odd dwelling in there.
But they are sometimes bordering R2s in our system. Just throwing that out there. And auction services, have you thought about if that includes auction services of cattle?
The ones I looked at were exclusive auction facility, not including livestock.
No,
Those were,
What is our definition for?
Yeah.
auctions?
I don't know what ours is, but in other ones that we looked at, that was
I
specified.
want to have some say whether you're letting the cattle auction into the middle of the industrial. Just may want to. It's your guys' decision, but
So our auction facility definition means a use intended for the auctioneering of livestock, goods,
Okay.
equipment, and may include temporary storage of such goods and holding of livestock. This does not include on-site slaughtering such as an abattoir or one-time on-site estate auction sales.
So then I would put auction facility, no livestock, and this is just mimicking, I don't even know which one it was, but they had two separate ones, auction facility, no livestock, and auction facility, livestock. So the livestock, I guess, would stay as discretionary, and
So we would break it out as two.
or just don't put it in there.
Don't put livestock in there.
Yeah, and just put no livestock for auction facility.
but you gotta allow that somewhere. Or you may want to allow it somewhere.
under
Leave
discretionary.
it as
though, it would be.
discretionary, then we can just have two separate.
We would have to create two different definitions.
So my comment, Counselor Olson, I don't know if you've got more, this would be one of those comments that I would think that Devin referred to at the beginning, so that we could wordsmith it and tweak it and bring it back at third reading. If you're comfortable with that. Just, and it gives the rest of council an opportunity to dwell on it too, so just to make sure we're capturing everything, like the double definition on auction and go from there.
Yeah, because there would be a lot of proposed use changes, which we would want to make sure that because it's going from discretionary to permitted, there might be general land use regulations that apply to some of those. And it might change and impact the ability of how we permit or condition those.
David
So-
was saying he wants to do more time on this.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
So, yeah, I don't think it will be too big of a deal, like shifting from discretionary to permitted is not overly complicated. I think we just want to ensure that if we're making that many shifts, that we do it properly, so we don't mess up any cross referencing or something like that.
May I ask you a question?
You may.
Why? Why do you want to switch them from discretionary to permitted?
Easier,
For
more
less
inviting. Yeah, exactly. Same as all of this. The less gray, the better, the more, if somebody wants to do something and they see it's permitted, well, it's less paperwork immediately.
My propane dispensary.
Yeah.
But discretionary also allows you that ability. It's just then you have to do the application, correct?
Yeah, and it adds more to the process.
It actually increases the value of the properties by making them more.
Could.
It
I like most of your
absolutely
list,
can.
just the two that I question. Kennels and auctions, right?
Well, I guess I was thinking the discretionary gives you more flexibility than the permitted.
Discretionary would
Or
give the town more flexibility to condition it.
And it gives the applicant a lot more work, a lot
More
more
certainty.
It
Okay,
would,
yeah,
by making
that's-
it permitted, it gives the
Then
applicant
they know
more
exactly what they
certainty.
can do with
Yeah,
it and.
if somebody's
and
going
not.
to get a loan or something,
Then they've
or-
got the.
okay,
He's not wrong. I mean, permitted takes the, do you like the guy, not like the guy? Does the committee like the guy, not like the guy?
Well,
That shouldn't be a factor,
I don't
but
think,
It's always a factor. yeah.
right or wrong is
It's
just
just
Not
my
an NPC,
concern.
it's
It was
very
just,
professional.
I didn't understand why
join
and what the
NPC.
benefit would be going from one to the other. So then knowing up front exactly what you're able to do with the land you're considering purchasing.
I mean, the unique
This-
ones, yeah, like a
and
rec facility,
entertainment.
adult entertainment, a waste transfer station, you're
My
gonna
wife's
want
gonna
different
be- Yeah.
boundaries on that.
I've always told her I can do that. Open up the open.
Oh, I thought,
Well, still, it's just discretionary.
you can't, you just have to ask permission.
Permitted and discretionary uses end up being very community based. Like some municipalities are super open, like everything permitted, and others try to have more control. Maybe others have issues that arise more in certain areas, so they try to keep more discretionary to prevent issues. It's really just community preference.
So would any of these then being considered devalue neighboring property that are residential? Like you mentioned that some of our industrial is close to some of the residential. Is there any that would then have a negative effect on the residential neighboring properties?
Yeah, that's
Potentially the one, and that's the other thing we'd have to look at at all the industrial districts. Again, one that jumps off to me in my mind is on Railway Avenue. So we've got industrial zone
Mhm.
property that faces onto Railway Avenue, but we have residential
Right.
properties on the other side of the alley.
Mhm.
So those are things we'd have to look at and consider. We're bringing those forward too.
Yeah, because if that has a negative effect on the value of residents already living there and somebody coming in with a permitted use.
but I don't think so. Right now, we're already allowing a bulk fuel station, a storage yard, heavy equipment sales and service there anyways. I don't deem that different than the list that I've had of a print shop. Light manufacturing to heavy manufacturing is not going to be a significant change.
Depending on what the manufacturer, if it's out of metal versus fabric or something.
the
Yeah,
difference
it's going to be heavy
between
manufacturing.
But then
those
there's
days.
hours of operation, right?
the difference between like heavy manufacturing is actually the ability to do things outside of the building.
Yeah.
So light manufacturing restricts your operations to within the building. And
then
heavy
heavy would be
manufacturing
outside.
means you could have your operations occurring outside as well.
Yeah, and some of that could be quite noisy during the day if you've got people working. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whatever scenario, they're gonna find maybe something that might have a negative impact, but I guess maybe that. Yeah,
Yeah, it has the potential for sure. Again, that's a
But is it-
council community decision
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
but is the
what
benefit gonna
level.
outweigh the potential for negativity?
I'm comfortable with that if we make sure that it's there for next.
I would just say, I started trying to write down the ones.
Yeah, no, I can
here,
send
but I
something out to
lost,
all
yeah.
council to you.
But I think, sorry, I'm just trying to think of how to word it. What I think you're asking to make that motion to make those changes. So I don't think it should be for administration to go back and like determine what's appropriate or not to, like, that's not what the motion is. The motion is for us to make the changes in a way that,
And then bring it back.
and then bring it back. So I think the motion would be worded for administration to go back and review the proposed changes from discretionary to permitted and
In the
permitted
industrial.
In the
zone.
in the industrial zone. And come back with recommendations on how to make those changes appropriately in the bylaw.
And so you're the administration, not town administration.
It would be Palliser
Oh, okay.
administration, yeah. So, and then when we come back with the recommended motion, I would recommend you, Councillor Olson, just to read through and ensure that we've captured what you're asking, if that makes sense.
And then once we've got that determined, then at third reading, when we go to do third reading, that would be an amendment to be voted on at third reading to, if the amendment is to move these number of permitted uses into or discretionary into permitted.
And then I guess the other question would be whether council wants to go through each one of those uses, like maybe you guys support some that Councillor Wilson has mentioned, whereas you may not support others. So then the question would be whether we're breaking that down.
Each use, so we're
use,
gonna add this one, vote on it, add this one, vote on it, add this one versus a
Yeah.
carte blanche of 10. And the council member might be happy with 9, but not 10. So I think that's
That's
probably
probably a better way.
a better way of doing it, more time consuming, but I think it's
It's the
probably a
proper
better
way
It's
to,
gonna get it closer to right.
Yeah,
And you could still deal with 10 tonight if you guys agree on retail.
yeah,
yeah, so if there is some uses that you want that are more straightforward, then I think we could deal with them tonight.
So, yeah.
but I would think we would deal with number 10 if councils wants to move that one forward. And then we need to pass that, when we're done here, once we're done here, then I think we add that motion. Then we
Yeah.
bring that other information back for third reading.
And this will be time consuming, but I'm gonna ask you to say them again, and I think we need to document them, like the actual requested changes that you're asking for, just so we make sure we get the motion clear.
Okay, so can we get a motion on number 10, that retail sales be moved from discretionary to permitted use in the industrial district?
I think that's pretty straightforward.
Council,
Yeah.
I'll make that.
all in favor? Carry.
That's
Number
what
11.
Bill's doing already, I think.
That the rear setbacks on industrial districts be amended from 6 meters to 2 meters.
I would like discussion on that too. Let me get back to that. I feel you looking at me.
Just got
Um,
curiosity up,
I
Counselor.
would be good with rear yard setback in non-residential districts. Set to 2 meters,
Non-residential.
Not in industrial, but all
all
non-residential.
non-residential.
So that's commercial.
Yeah,
What's your thought process there, Council?
Flexibility.
best use of space flexibility.
Think you need to let Palliser double check that one too, because
Well,
we
you
get
got
into building
got
code.
parking requirements too, right?
Yeah,
So
building
for a
code.
lot of.
Yeah, which would,
Which
deal
deal
with
with
that
the rear.
anyways, yeah.
A lot of our stuff in the land use bylaw over the years has been set to match the Alberta Fire Code and the Alberta Building Code. Well, now National Building Code, National Fire Code. So we just gotta be careful that we're not changing something that, oh, hey, yeah, you can go down to 2, and then when they go to get the building permit, they got everything in place, no, they can't do that. And then we're the bad guy, well, you said I could, now they say I can't. So a lot of our stuff was set to match. If I look into those other code books,
Yeah,
a lot of it's just been taken
Well,
out.
we
of
can
it.
add this to my list of.
So why couldn't you move it to discretionary rather than
No, just like
Setbacks, you can't.
setbacks you can't.
Setbacks are separate.
They're.
They're outside this discretionary and non-discretionary part of the,
You can get a
So-
variance, you can get a variance on
Yeah.
a set.
And they were set usually for a reason, either safety or
some of them.
access.
I'm not saying that they're all right. In
Yeah.
industrial, I agree. Usually we'd have no back alleys. We have no,
Mhm.
nothing back there. So why shouldn't you be allowed to use your property
Yeah.
to what you see fit? I do agree in industrial that going down to 2 meters, I don't see an issue.
Well, we can
with it.
leave this as is, and then we'll add to my administration
Plethora of.
work after.
Sounds good. Yeah, I know, when we chatted Councilor Olson as well, there's various examples of industrial
Yeah.
districts across the province that have varying sets of rear yard setbacks. Some are 6 meters, some we saw that were 0 rear yard setback. I think city of Calgary's was really complicated. I don't think
Yeah.
we'd want to go there, but they talk about a no rear yard setback required in cases where the building is essentially does not require maintenance in any way. So I don't know how you would determine that exactly, but one of the considerations is like, would you still need to access the rear of the building to do any maintenance to the building itself? And if you're on a parcel where you're backing onto another parcel and there's no lane behind you or roadway, would you have the ability to actually access the back of your building? I know I've seen that come up actually recently in another house or municipality where there's a building built right on the side yard. And that landowner is trying to do renovations and the neighboring landowner won't let them
On their
access from their property. And that's created like an actual civil suit issue.
Usually it's cinder block walls because of fire codes,
Yeah.
non-combustible construction.
Well, and even if there's a road, right there, obviously there wouldn't be a really busy one, but you would think that you wouldn't be able to block the roadway unless you had a separate permit or something from the town or municipality to be able to close that section off or something.
The other thing, remember on your rear setbacks is that's just for buildings. Still allows you to put stuff back there. You're still allowed to.
Okay.
I'll use Bill because he's sitting here in his case, put lumber lifts
Mhm.
back against the property line. To use that property, it's just when building a building, and then there, even in our existing land use bylaw, there's some allowances for firewalls, zero combustible
Yeah.
construction to go to the property line.
Yeah.
But have to double check. I'm not sure if it's rear, but definitely in the
In
side
the
yard.
industrial district, we did change the side yard to allow you right up to the property line, providing you have a fire rate wall. Yeah,
Allow somebody if they really want to take it tight to one side.
Yeah.
That they can, right?
yeah.
So I have a silly question. According to my address, my civic address,
Oh, God.
the south end of my lot is the rear. So I can build within 2 meters of the property on the south side with this proposal.
First of all, be careful that
Non-residential.
the addressing doesn't necessarily determine what is front, and what is side on a corner lot. Now you're stuck in the middle, so yes, we have to look at that.
Oh, you.
So the north side of
So the
your,
Tim Horton side is your supposedly your.
Like
front
that
door.
end.
Yeah, in your case, it would be where we get into it on corner lots is well, my address is 7th Avenue.
No,
And
I'm just being the
Yeah,
devil.
yeah.
I'm not building out to the road, don't worry. But I'm just,
so in that case, you could though build right to the rear of the property, which means your building would essentially be, is there a boulevard on that roadway?
probably,
Well, there's gotta be.
There'll be a right of way between the road, edge of the road structure and your property.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not 2 meters from the
Building.
road.
welcome to my world.
So are you gonna have to look up the national building codes and the national fire codes to see what the rules are for the rear, to see what we're allowed to do?
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into some more for sure. Like I know the 2 meters that Councillor Olson has proposed, like that is in other land use bylaws, and even less in some others. Um,
And if you say 2 and National Building Code says, well, you're building it out of 2x6 and sheeting it with plywood and painting it, you may have to still be back.
Yeah.
You know, the town gave me permission to build my building 20 feet from the side property line. And the developer luckily was smart enough to go, you're not allowed that under the building code. You gotta go 40 feet
But
because
that's
it's not
finished.
non-combustible.
That's finished building, okay?
Combustible.
So you gotta just,
And yeah, it could really depend on the structure of the building too. So that's a hard one for us to even be able to say every building requirement is gonna be this far back.
So
So
do we table number 11 then?
Or we can do number 11 for industrial district.
Yeah, you could do number 11, or you could table it to be part of the motion that administration go back and look at
yeah,
yard setbacks of 2 meters in all non-residential properties.
yeah.
But then you're potentially putting in a clause that says, subject to the national building
Anybody,
codes or fire codes must be
That
met.
always applies.
that always is there.
a proper person doing a building.
Building code will catch that. Building officer, when doing a building permit, would catch that. It just it has the potential to have people mad at us. Because you said I could build 20
Mixed
feet.
message.
Now I gotta be 40 feet.
Right.
Just putting that out there.
Not mad at us, just mad at the development officer.
You know where that flows, right?
He's starting to give you looks, you know, you're not.
Okay, I think we should table it.
Okay. Well, I think we would need a motion. Essentially, what's Councillor Wilson, you're asking for then is for us to reduce the rear yard setbacks. So I think that's the motion that you're making, right? And then it'll be voted on by council. But you want us to come back with some regulations in that regard for council to vote on. Would be,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I think the motion then would be for Palliser and administration to explore reduced rear yard setbacks, or not even explore, to,
Investigate.
no, because it's not about us
to
deciding.
reduce, to
It's
reduce
to reduce the rear yard setbacks
For
and,
non-residential.
all non-residential districts.
and come back with recommended options to move forward with that.
Yes, you know.
Yeah, see,
Hey,
these-
Cal, can you repeat that, please?
the motions are difficult.
Councilor Olson, can you repeat that, please?
Does that make sense, Kim?
Yeah.
Okay, because we don't
I don't know
want,
if it's recommended options though at the end of the day,
well, I think it's recommended wording. to
recommended
achieve
wording and
what
making
we're-
sure we're capturing it in
Yeah.
other areas of the land use bylaw that, because we want it to be congruent.
Because
right?
some, I think was CT was 1.5 or something already.
Right.
Yeah,
So it really wouldn't apply there.
Let's keep going.
Like this.
There's my.
And so that's a request for all non-residential.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Councilor Olson, you're making that motion.
Yes.
Sure. Naomi, you want to read back what we have for a motion?
She wants to watch the video tomorrow.
That's
And
fine.
decipher
Well,
the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so Councillor Olson is requesting that Palliser and administration review and reduce the rear yard setback in all non-residential districts, and that we come back with recommendation, the proper wording for the recommendation. With that,
And
For reducing rear
to 2 meters.
setbacks to 2 meters.
for reducing your setbacks to 2 meters.
Sorry, Naomi.
Are you seeing it as a concern?
See, now, if you've done that all in pencil, you could just erase it.
I don't know if it's a
I
concern.
don't know if
Like,
it's
the
a
concern I
concern.
have initially right now is just consistency.
Oh,
And that's what I.
So if we
wanted
go
for-
2 in all non-residential, well, already some of our C2 are less than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is fine. It's not the first non-conforming building, I guess.
No, but yeah, but do you want to, if C2, for
Oh,
example, is
non-residential.
1.5, do you want to even mess with what? with
Yeah, you're
C2,
screwing them
or
up
do you
the other
just
way
wanna
now.
do
Yeah,
industrial?
that's right, Ken.
So we might want to come back and say C2 is already 1.5,
Right.
C1 is 0.
Yeah, we don't want to create.
So it might be
non-conforming.
after
think you
we
are.
do a review, it might only be the industrial zone that in the non-residential that needs to be reduced. 'Cause you got,
Yeah.
you've got basically.
One was 1.5, I think one was 3.
I think it'll take me, I could go through pretty quick and
Okay.
just check, and I think we should do it just to make sure that we're doing it.
Because some of them are
correctly.
already less than that.
Yeah, so.
I honestly do
Okay.
feel bad for this on the fly stuff.
No, that's okay. Yeah, and I think that's the tricky part is when we're making these bigger
Should we just
changes.
take a couple minutes, Kim?
Yeah,
Yeah, if we take a recess and I'll go through it. and I'll
I'm
list
picking up
out-
your laying down, buddy. I'll take a
Okay.
recess at 8:29.
I'll go through and I'll.
Leave
let
me
them
alone
know.
with Dave.
Counselor up back.
What happened in recess? Happened in recess.
Well, don't throw snowballs. Yes.
see, CT, that would be considered commercial. Devin,
Yeah,
so it's 6. Rear wall.
Counselor Olson, would you like to make the motion that retail sales, well, not that one, that number
Number
11,
11.
that the rear yard step back and for industrial district be amended to 6 meters, or from 6 meters to 2 meters.
Yes.
Council Olson makes a motion, all in favor? Carried. Do we need direction from council?
So we need, I don't know if we formally made that motion. Winona, if you want to read it out.
It moved by Counselor Olson that Palliser and administration review the rear yard setbacks in all non-residential districts to see where they can be reduced.
Yes.
That works?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of Council Olson? Sorry, Council Olson motion. Carried.
And what was the motion before?
The other one we'll need is on the permitted uses.
Oh, yes.
So we'll need you to list, and I'll have to ask if you don't mind writing them down. As, yeah, Counselor Olson.
Council Olson will make a motion to review discretionary to permitted uses for the following.
Uses.
Which one?
So these will be into permitted industrial, auction facility, no livestock, car wash, equipment rental shop,
Good thing I'm not taking.
gas bar and service station, manufacturing heavy or manufacturing all levels would be there. Print shop, recycling depot, retail is already there, self-storage facility, wrecker and salvage. And then in turn, in discretionary would be auction facility, livestock.
Agree on all of them except this last one.
It's already there. It's already there.
What else would remain in discretionary?
So
I guess everything else. would
everything else
remain
is there
discretionary.
already.
Where did you put kennels?
I left it in discretion. I didn't list it.
Yeah,
in
you
the-
didn't.
It's still discretionary. I agree.
So I'll add quickly, if we're splitting out those definitions for auction facility, we'll need that worded.
Definitions to be
We'll need
changed.
that worded as well. So we would need to say for house and administration to come up with 2 definitions for auction facility. One that includes livestock and one that does not include livestock. And then proposing that livestock remains as a discretionary use and other auction facilities would be permitted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Need to catch it in the definition section as well as the.
Like just an option, like without livestock would almost fall under retail, basically, would it not?
Seen it a lot in industrial settings. If I look at Strathmore and I was just in Alex, where guys are doing online auctions, but they have the lay down yard set up for you to come view in that.
Yeah.
Seen that a lot in industrial type, because there's everything coming in there, right? There's
Yeah.
high hose to sea cans to whatever, right? But-
Even outside Calgary.
And they're becoming quite common to do.
And that whole motion would be worded for Palliser administration to come back with a recommendation for how to shift these into permitted uses within the land use bylaw.
The emphasis on Palliser.
Because essentially, you're not asking us to determine or decide if we agree or not.
No.
You're
No.
asking us
Yeah.
to make sure that that change is done, so it works in the bylaw, right? So we're just coming back and saying, here's how you shift it to permitted uses, here's what needs to change to make that work.
If they all agree with him, they may all vote it
Yeah,
down.
and then everyone,
And then we would vote on each particular use.
yeah.
Okay, do you want to read that out?
That smile says no.
Okay, I'm not sure if I have it all, but going back to review it with the
Review until date.
video should help me. Moved by Councillor Olson. To have. I'm kind of all over the place here. Ms. Palliser and administration to review. The discretionary.
Review the moving of the discretionary uses that were listed to permitted uses. Yes, I'll make that motion.
Sorry, to review or to, like, how would we word that? So it's not to review whether to do,
Wow.
it, but to.
Which kind of,
Well,
To review
we're
the land use
changing that.
bylaw.
Review the land use bylaw to make, yeah, and I don't know how to word it, but to review the land use bylaw to make sure that we're consistent throughout
Yeah,
in making those.
so to review
changes.
the land use bylaw to ensure we're making consistent changes to
The discretionary permitted uses in industrial section.
Yeah.
We'll get it, we'll make it sound good, Councillor Olson.
Remember what you said. That's easy.
Does it make your job easier?
yes and no.
That's why you.
Yeah.
I mean, permitted, just when somebody squawks for why something was allowed. If it's permitted without variances, you can't say no. But that's also a positive thing as a landowner.
Hey. So last but not least. Motion.
So I made that motion
Oh, all in favor?
too, yes.
Carried.
Did you have another one, Councillor Olson?
I do.
Okay.
So this is in the mindset of, I had to look up and see why the land coverage mattered, parcel coverage mattered. And it seems like it was something from a long time ago. It probably matters downtown Calgary for water absorption. They want coverage so that water goes and it can drain properly, of course. And in the mindset of industrial being different again to everything else, I don't feel like stormwater is going to be an issue. I would like industrial lot coverage changed to an 80% maximum. Instead of currently removing it, is it 40 or 60 right now?
It's
60. Move it to 80. Again, just simply more freedom of that and just for the industrial lot coverage.
I can do a good job.
You could build a big shop. I feel there's less risk again in the industrial district.
That's not a big deal in industrial.
And it is big. We probably would never run into it.
No, that's not a.
So I would make a motion to amend industrial or lot coverage, parcel coverage in the industrial district to 80% maximum. Did that one myself.
nice work. You're supposed to come in advance with the complicated ones. So
Yeah.
That's what we
He's
got
your
for our
chairman.
council. All in favor of the motion? Carried.
That's all I have.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Going once? Final is council gives second reading to the proposed land use bylaw 1032-2023 as amended. Motion. Sure. All in favor?
So basically, what that motion means is that all of the motions that were approved tonight for changes to the land use bylaw will be made in effect.
So we'll come back
Third and final reading.
at third reading. We're gonna come back to you with a third version.
Yeah.
With all
These
the
changes.
adopted motions tonight incorporated in. And then we'll have another staff report just like this that lists out the other more complicated motions and what changes we're recommending in order to incorporate
So
them.
that'd be a
That's a nice way of saying it.
The third.
Just a third.
third and approve whatever is in there.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried.
Good work.
That wasn't hard.
That was painless.
We can get Devin looking at.
So the other, I hate to say this, but the other option too is, as we've said before, the bylaw is not final until third reading. So we know we've got a couple of other areas of amendments that we're bringing back for prior to third reading. If there's anything that you, again, want to amend further, that option still exists.
So can we amend prior to third reading, or we have to postpone third reading?
No, we could do exactly like we did tonight. We can make those amendments and vote on those amendments, and then once we voted on those amendments, we can give it third reading as amended.
Or you could push third reading to either further date if you felt like you needed to.
No, I just wanted clarification.
But there is,
Depending
what I'm
comes.
saying is, if something else arises and you've got another amendment you want to make, that's the opportunity. And if you get a chance, if you know, let us know as soon as you know, so we can incorporate it. So
I had a lot more long ago when I sorted some stuff out.
And I would say too, if counselors have a motion in mind that might be complicated, we'd maybe recommend reaching out to administration before, and then we can help try to work.
To be
some
fair,
of
that was recommended last time too.
that. No, it's all good.
So the other thing too, a land use bylaw is a living document.
Yes.
So even after it's given third reading, in 2024, if there's something that needs to be amended, there is a process and an option to make land use bylaw amendments. Generally, in the past, the ones we've made have been more redistricting. There's been a few that I know we brought in when cannabis became legal and trying to incorporate that. But there might be another definition that we missed somewhere down the road that needs to be added or changed. So it is a living document. It's just a process to amend it down the road. So
Especially when you see such a large change, like after 10 years, we're doing a major review of the bylaw. Then usually what we see is administration works with it for about a year. And as they're working with it, they're going through and they're going, oh, this actually didn't work how we imagined it would. And we end up compiling a list, and then sometimes we'll come back from a year from now with what we call housekeeping changes, with a few things we need to just make it work better.
And you better be here when that happens.
okay, so we're good. Thank you, Devin.
Yeah,
Thanks,
no
Ellen.
problem.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
Council reports, Council Crowell's got his there, anything to add?
Yeah, just at the Vets Memorial Highway meeting is on the 22nd or the 20th of October in Lackland.
Council Bolton, Packers handed out here a little bit, so anything to add?
Nope.
Council Olson,
No, I didn't have one in, but I had a Palliser board meeting, Links board meeting, finance meeting. Golf course closed as of today, so that's over. Yeah, nothing else crazy.
Council Murphy,
My apologies for not submitting one. I had Acadia Foundation and Consort in September. That went well. They're working on construction, still having difficulties getting staffing in order to actually have SL3 started. So I'm hoping that the medical board here, that would be Councillor Crowell that's on it, is working on planning in advance to have SL3 if it's required in Hanna, because we're losing so much time in because we're good to go. We got the rooms, they're set up, they're ready, and the healthcare staff, nay.
So my comment is I don't believe that that's a medical clinic responsibility. That would be AHS's responsibility.
So we don't have anyone from the Hanna Town Council who works on any boards related to Alberta Health Services, just the medical center.
Just the clinic.
They actually have that in Oyen, which is why it's been working so well. Okay. Yeah, we need to fix that. We should be involved.
Well, I think the reason they're involved in Oyen is because of the closure of the hospital. So then that forced that collaboration to work closely on keeping the hospital open.
If we collaborate in advance, we might.
No,
be
I
able
don't
to.
disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I'm just not sure where to start to have that happen. Anyways, okay.
I would suggest whether it's yourself or whether your manager of the Acadia Foundation and Councilor Kroll can correct me if I'm wrong, I would have to reach out to Ken Hansen. He is the chair of our clinic, but former hospital administrator. He's sitting on David Thompson Health Advisory Committee. So out of anyone in town, he would be the guy that I think would be the most connected or know who to contact to be able to set something up. And knowing Ken, he may have been heavily involved in the setting up of it in Oyen because he does work for Oyen as well. So
That's awesome.
He's the one that said that.
yeah, so Ken would be the go-to guy.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And he's great. I've worked with him before. He's wonderful. And then for the Marigold, we had another meeting for their HR committee because they made me their chair. And I thought this would be my last meeting and they voted me in for another year. So yeah, and that's it. We're good. Thank you.
Yeah, attended the AUMA meeting, did well, sat through a real interesting one about waste site management there, what they're going to try to get planned is to get all the producers of plastics and everything to become more to help cut costs of recycling it. So I thought that was interesting. But then I went to Medicine Hat for the PEP meeting and we pretty well got the strategic plan all set for another year. It's an interesting process how to go through that. So there's a 4.5 hour discussion on what to do and what not to do. And next meeting is in December.
I had a Red Deer Municipal Users Group meeting. We're starting to lobby the government on a second dam on the Red Deer River. Of course, everyone has lots of ideas as to where it should be and so on and so forth. And basically, we've come to consensus that wherever the engineering tells us it should be is where it should be. So that's a very interesting project. It'll probably be, it's a 20-year project. We're not fooling ourselves it's going to happen tomorrow or anything, but so we had a straw poll today, actually, watch over the weekend and today. We have a meeting with the minister and so our executive, which I'm part of, will meet with Segerson to discuss our desire to move forward on this project. And so, yeah, that's real exciting. But like I said, it's a very long drawn out process. I attended the New Life Fellowship's 100th anniversary on last Sunday, and got invited back, so I couldn't have gone too poorly on that one. And other than that, it's been fairly busy just with the odd little hi, I'm the mayor, thanks for coming sort of thing. So other than that, all's good. Motion to accept council reports for information. Council Earl, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence.
The only thing, Mr. Mayor, just just for information, I did include the water levels of our reservoirs around CN, Fox Lake and Helmer. So you can see, where Helmer Dam is at the lowest ever, at 44.5%. Seems lower than that, but Fox Lake at 45, lowest since the fall of 2005. And CN lowest since October of 1990. So CN's at 22.5% of capacity. So definitely have some water. Fortunately, we don't rely on those water sources for potable water, but certainly indicates the drought that we've been in with those recorded levels. So.
Is there a minimum that CN would never have any more water drawn out of? Like if it falls below a certain level, there would be no withdrawal?
I don't think there is the ability. I'm looking at Councillor Olson. I don't know if there is even the ability at this level to draw for the.
I'm trying to picture where that thing hangs down.
Well, I think they could drop something in to.
It's.
No, it's
There's a little
equal
landing that
across
comes
the-
down.
Years ago,
Yeah,
they actually dammed it off and pumped off of the west side of the dam, so that would have been about what was the lowest?
What did they say?
1990.
1990.
Okay, yeah, because a number of years ago, I know we dug a bell hole and got into it with Mr. Shack over that bell hole because we didn't actually have permission at the golf course to do it. So I know that at that point in time that it must have been lower than it is now. So
Because right now that pump is on the east side.
correct.
Yeah, and it does, I have gone out and looked at it. It is quite a bit higher than the water level, but just in case there's another way to access it, if there is a limitation on it or not. So I was asking.
Okay, other than that. Also, zero, we got a egg butter there. Two.
No, that's just the family marriage therapy program. Thanking council for their funding today. So.
Okay, motion to accept correspondence items 12.01, 12.05 for information. Also Olson, all in favor? Carried. Closed session.
Yeah.
See you later. Closed session at 9 PM.
Thanks, Dave.